Welcome back to an Armored Warfare replay, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I have for you PvE Hardcore on Operation Banshee. It is myself with the M60A2 Starship, Andreas Jaeger with the Leopard 1A5, and Caps with the T-72AV. So let's talk about the M60A2 for a bit. Now, I do have this mostly loaded with heat. It used to be popular to load it mostly with HE, but this was after a recent patch where they more or less kind of nerfed the power of HE ammunition. I still find use in the HE, but I find it more of as a specialized round now than an actual round. Now, we'll do a quick pan over of the vehicle here quick so you can look at it. If you haven't seen an M60A2 before. Now we're going to push up here. In the middle of the Cold War, it was heavily debated what would be the main gun of the future. In the end, the cannon would win, but hindsight is 2020. So in 1966, there was an effort to design a gun system that would utilize both conventional cannon munitions and guided missiles. General Dynamic Land Systems would design a new 152 millimeter gun launcher. It would also utilize a newly designed turret, as you can see here. I'm also going to point out some features later about this turret. The new turret and gun would be mounted to the hull of an M60 tank. Now, that being said, the M60 was nothing more. The M60A2 was nothing more than a stopgap for the ongoing German-U.S. MBT-70 project. The first M60A2s would be ordered in 1971 from the Chrysler tank plant, but production wouldn't begin until 1973. Production would continue until 1975. Only a total of 526 M60A2s would be produced. However, M60A2 would have a short service life. The main fault being the gun launcher system. The M162 152 millimeter gun launcher would have the same failings as the M551 Sheridan. The electronics would be a constant problem, and there's also failings with the gun itself. I'm going to actually go in those details at a later date when I have a replay ready for the M551 Sheridan. So keep yourself posted on my channel here for that replay. So with it being deemed as a failed project, the M62, most of the M60, oh my God, good Lord, I'm going fully retarded here. I'm skipping some parts. The M60A2 would be fully removed from service in 1982. Most of the M60A2s would have their turrets removed and replaced with an M60A3 turret, or they would be converted into specialized engineering vehicles. One was the Remote Panther, bridge layers, so on and so forth. The M60A2 is also frequently referred to as Starship. This is actually a post-service name, and it was unsure where the name came from. It is debated that it could be due to the advanced electronics or due to the odd-shaped turret. Once again, there's a reason for the odd-shaped turret. I'm going to go into that now. What you have here with the turret is the problem due to the ammunition loadout and the size of the 152 millimeter ammunition. To get the most ammunition they could into the turret and the hull, they had to redesign the turret. one design to point out that's extremely weird is a turret hatch for each crewman. On this side here, you actually have the loader, and he has his own hatch. And then on the opposite side, you actually have the gunner with his own hatch. And then you have the commander's cupola, which has a pencil-mounted, I believe it was an M82 50 caliber machine gun that could also be pointed up in the air. The machine gun wasn't well liked either, and the M82 would actually end up being removed from service. But as you can see, the commander has also his own hatch, with the driver having his own hatch in the front and center. With all that pointed out, that's what's unique about one unique feature about this vehicle is that every crewman has his own hatch. That's not something you see in most vehicle designs, and as I said once again, it's got to do with the munitions layout. Essentially all the crewmen are cut off from each other because they're like in the middle of the turret is a wall of 152 millimeter munitions. Now in game it does fire the Shillelagh anti-tank missile. I'm not a fan of it, so what I do is I load it with nothing but conventional rounds, being mostly heat, and then I load up about, I believe it's about 14 rounds of high explosive ammunition, which can be quite potent. But right now, with the way things are in armored warfare, heat ammunition seems to really be the way to go, as long as you know where to aim. As you can see, the vehicle actually is quite deadly. It's a pretty hard-hitting vehicle for a Tier 5. However, it comes at a cost of like a 12.5-second reload, so it is quite long to reload. In most retrospects, if you're a World of Tanks player, this is the KV-2 of World of Tanks. It's not well armored. It doesn't have the most accurate gun, although you see it's much more accurate than firing, say, a KV-2. You definitely don't want to fire this gun on the move whenever possible. You always want to come to a halt and aim because it's not very well stabilized. But yeah, it's a very powerful gun, and the vehicle itself is not the best armored for a Tier 5. Consider it's basically a Tier 6 hull in a Tier 5 game, which actually that was a Tier 5 battle. As you can see, we got the win. Got kind of a bit of sound glitch here, but we will pull up the results right now. And as you can see, I did almost 13,000 damage, spotted 8 enemies, and destroyed 7. Now, unfortunately, I would not get the blue star, even though I would actually get top spotting overall and top damage overall. So most unfortunate, I ended up losing out the blue star to one of the M1 main battle tanks. Yeah, that's just how it works. How's the tank in armored warfare? Well, it's not the best M60 variant for sure, but the 152 millimeter gun is definitely worth taking a look at because it can be a lot of fun derping stuff with that. So there you go. You can get it from the same tech tree that you'd find the M60s and the M1. And it's a lot of fun to play with. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this replay, and I hope that I'll see you all again sometime.